Real transformation, it's basically not the one that is coming only top down, but really the one that you force people to live inside themselves.
It's real when it's ongoing, when it's continuing. I sometimes compare it to when you see children grow up, you don't ask them why they grow up. You don't ask them why all of a sudden 6 months later they are taller and they are different and they're growing. It's because it's a very natural process.
Good morning, Filip Moriau, Etienne Jacques. Thank you for joining me today. Pleasure to have you with us at the HR Congress. I just wanted to start off this interview by asking how you two ended up working together.
Thank you, Ben, for having us. It's great to be here. So Etienne and I started working together because I had been working with Tractebel for a while. Tractebel, based out of Brussels, we're based out of Berlin, but we had this collaboration, Stragilon and Tractebel, in a long-term transition of Tractebel becoming a different type of company. And then Etienne joined into his new role as Chief HR Officer of the organization and picked up a project that was lingering in the background, and that was actually perhaps in a process of going nowhere. And Etienne came in and suddenly said, this is something that I think is important, picked it up. And I think that's how we met. And it was a meeting where I didn't actually know where things were going to go. And then we met and suddenly things were going on the right track. I don't know what your recollection is of that start.
I would agree. We didn't know where we would finish like today, but I got inspired by the quite innovative approach that Filip was presenting, and certainly also the fact that we could cover the whole world, which is not so easy. We have a very international company with more than 150 countries covered and offices in more than 30 countries. So we needed someone and a team able to catch this diversity, and of course the innovative techniques that Filip was proposing was definitely worth a try, and that was the beginning of the story.
So obviously these days transformation is a word that gets thrown around quite a lot, and of course in the title of your presentation it's achieving real transformation. And I wanted to just ask you, Filip, to clarify a little bit on what you mean by real transformation in the case of Etienne.
Of ENGIE and Tractebel. Real transformation is the crux of the challenge that most of our customers face. And I think it's fundamentally different from what has been done before. Probably it has to do with principles of infection from within rather than imposing transformation from above, so that people actually start feeling they belong in that new organization. They want to build that new organization. It's them who make that story, that they make that story happen. It's they who make that story happen rather than it's a process that's imposed by other people. So then it becomes real, because then people start seeing the purpose for themselves and they connect the purpose of the organization to their own purpose, their own culture, the diverse types of value and contributions they can bring. And I think that's something that we've tried to achieve within Tractebel.
So what are some of the ways that augmented intelligence is impacting the transformation that you're undergoing at the moment? And how do you see this developing in the next foreseeable future?
Perhaps I'd like to ask Etienne to tell us, in the last 9 months within Tractebel, what transformation have you achieved and where do you think you have arrived at this stage? Because it's an ongoing situation, I presume. But
yeah, indeed. And I would say, coming back to your words, real transformation, it's basically not the one that is coming only top down, but really the one that you force people to live inside themselves. And I think these innovative techniques have brought that, is that it was not a classical way of assessing people, but really via the feedback that you were giving to them, also to question themselves in their very deep feelings in the organization. And if we look now 9 months after, definitely, I think we changed a lot. A few people themselves decided, and this was not the way they were used to do things, and that's fair enough. But definitely, we also privileged then people managers, real leaders, and so this real transformation is happening by discovering sometimes the leadership skills of some of our talents. And I think this was the deep feelings that could come out of this new practice.
As a leader in the organization, what are some of the things that you've found are helping, contributing factors to achieving better success with the transformation? What are some of the practices or the skills that you think are very valuable in such a case?
I think the most important that we probably discovered is that the cooperation that we were looking for was very much linked to a simple word that is trust. And basically we have worked from the very beginning, from the very first month, on the trust at the executive committee level. And by showing this trust between each other, we were also passing a very important message to our teams. People tend to replicate what they see at a higher level, and so if there is no cooperation at the highest level, it cannot function below. And I think this was, and is still today, a key enabler, because mistrust comes very easily. So it's not so easy to build trust, but at least to try avoiding mistrust behaviors.
Mm-hmm. So, Filip, as your time with Etienne continues, what are some of the goals, the oncoming goals that you're looking to hit and the targets for the future?
It's probably to build on the things that we have achieved so far, but to recognize that it's an ongoing transformation. You asked earlier how you make it real. I think one other element that maybe we haven't touched upon is it's real when it's ongoing, when it's continuing. I sometimes compare it to when you see children grow up, you don't ask them why they grow up. You don't ask them why all of a sudden 6 months later they are taller and they are different and they're growing. It's because it's a very natural process. So I think in situation of Tractebel, also in, I'd say, the business journey that they have, which is fascinating and integrating and very transformative, because they have a large impact on the zero carbon future, sustainable way of life on planet Earth. And I think that's where we can probably create a large contribution from our specific type of way of transforming from within. So I see a lot of potential, and we're actually working on some projects that are very, very interesting and that are going to help Tractebel reach their goals.
It's a very fascinating case. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll let you guys get off. Thank you and enjoy the day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.